Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Duluth Conservative, where we're going to talk about some Charlie Kirk issues again, unfortunately. We're going to talk about Duluth, Minnesota, national and international news. And I hope you guys, people who are watching, are going to enjoy it. And today, we're going to have a special guest back again. We got Art Johnson joining the Playhouse. Hey, Art, how's it going?
Hey, great to be on here again. Thanks for having me. Hope I can add something.
Absolutely, we'll add something, some sanity and some intelligence, which is good. I just put this at the top because of all the stuff I've been seeing this week, and I wasn't really going to retouch on the Charlie Kirk thing. We were going to talk about his memorial, and that was about it. But what we've seen is something very odd happening, which is people are expressing opinions about his assassination and murder that I would never have thought I saw in America. There's people outright celebrating it. One second, I got something queued up here. They're celebrating it. Some of them are celebrating it. Some of them do well, it was horrible and I don't condone it, and then they go on to explain why it was okay to do everything they did. So it's kind of sad to see. And I don't know, do you have any thoughts on this, Dave, before we start showing some of the videos of it?
I noticed a lot of them are getting fired for their, and it's, we're in America, we have a lot of free speech. So, but to have to be around a person that would celebrate another person's death, it corrupts businesses, it corrupts your other employees, to have someone that hatred towards. So it's good that they're getting fired, even though we're stretching the freedom of speech to another limit, but it's still, you just don't want people like that in your office, basically. So
yeah. Art, do you have any thoughts on it?
I just find it extremely sad. One thing that kind of bugs me is that the left now, for lack of a better term, are saying that, oh no, the right is believing in the cancel culture. Anybody that equates an assassination or murder of a person who was just having a discussion with the cancel culture is intellectually wrong and weak and totally off the wall. I mean, the cancel culture was when people lost their job because they had a view, because they said something. You went after the people like J.K. Rowling, or just expressing a view that a woman is a woman. You had people like that being canceled. This is not that. There was an assassination. There was a death. There was a well thought out murder of somebody, a public figure. He was having a discussion. And for anybody to equate those two, those are people are just intellectually weak, and it is really sad that people even put up with that. I know, what more can I say? It's just a very sad situation, and kind of reminds me of that other, I forget the guy's name, that other person who murdered the healthcare executive.
Yeah, right, in New York.
Yeah, and people celebrated that. They're still celebrating that. And like some of our politicians, like Elizabeth Warren, went on there. Oh, this is just horrible. There's so many people, but there's always this big but afterwards.
Exactly.
But anybody that puts a big but up there, I mean, they are people that I don't want to be around. Those are people I do not trust. Those are people that I would say, if we have to be worried about anybody, it's the people that always put this big but after an extremely violent act. And, and also, I'll say the right. I don't know if I consider myself on the right, but for lack of a better term, we didn't celebrate the death of Melissa Horton, for example.
No.
It was just horrible. I sent a note to my elected people, said this is horrible. Do not give in to this violence. And in this case, you see what's happening, as you'll see. So I'll be quiet here.
Well, I know there's people that watch this that they don't see this news that we present on this podcast because they don't go, they watch CNN, they may watch The View, they watch MSNBC. They don't see some of these stories. So I'm going to pull this a little closer to home here. As you guys know, I ran for Minnesota House in Duluth last year, and my opponent, her campaign manager, had something to say about Charlie Kirk. Now, this is the same campaign manager to two other people, but I'm going to play what she had to say. And this is the classic, I don't condone it, but scenario. So let me just share what she had to say.
I'm not sorry for not mourning Charlie Kirk's death. It is insane to see the amount of people that want to like clean his track record after his death. I'm sorry, but why are you mourning the death of a literal Nazi? I mean, we know why. We're seeing that the White House is reacting to this, but not Melissa fucking Hortman and her husband and her dog's death, and a literal political assassination of politicians, not just right-wing nut jobs. Seeing people express more concern about this than the hundreds of children who have been killed by gun violence, which was part of Charlie Kirk's rhetoric, by the way. He said, you better be prepared to die for your Second Amendment rights. I'm prepared to die for trans rights. I am prepared to put my body on the line for trans rights. So he did the same thing for his rhetoric and his values. F him. I'm not.
So that is the campaign manager of my opponent from last year, my upcoming opponent, because I'm planning on running again next year. That's the campaign manager. So I don't know of any view that Charlie Kirk had that I didn't agree with. I haven't heard them all. I'm not a aficionado on Charlie Kirk's talking, but I have not heard one thing he said that I disagreed with. So in turn, she's calling me a Nazi. And now I have to be afraid for myself and my family because she's the campaign manager for my opponent. So I hope that brings it home to people to understand who we're dealing with. And that's in Duluth. And I think she lives in the Twin Cities, but that's a Duluth candidate's campaign manager. So
I know a guy that he messaged her, all three people that she's a campaign manager or communications director for, and there's been no response from them.
That's
zero response. Yeah, so that tells you exactly they don't care.
So,
I mean, her whole attitude was just watching that video. She is not a nice.
Oh, I think we lost Art here. Unless I'm frozen, Art is frozen.
Person.
No.
Oh, there you are. Art, you were frozen for a second. So can you repeat what you were going to say? I think he's frozen again. Okay, well, until he comes back, I'm going to go on to what we were talking about was the, it's horrible, but, and what we're seeing is an attempt to shift this narrative around this killer from being the psychotic killer to only being a nice guy or a loving guy. And I came across something called DARVO, DARVO, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. And that is the exact playbook you'll see many politicians doing. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here. So let me just add this. And if I can find it, this is where I fail a little bit because sometimes I just don't have this stuff queued up. Yeah, here it is. Let me just show you this educational video. This is like Schoolhouse Rock for you guys.
The DARVO method. DARVO is one of the most disorienting manipulation tactics out there. And once you know what it is, you'll start seeing it everywhere. The term stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. It's a psychological sleight of hand, a way for someone to flip the entire script the moment you try to hold them accountable. Here's how it plays out. You bring up something that hurt you, calmly, respectfully, just trying to talk. Step 1, they deny it. That never happened. You're making things up, or you're being way too dramatic. Then comes step 2. They attack you. They go after your tone, your timing, your past. Suddenly, it's not about what they did. It's about how you brought it up. And then comes the flip. They make themselves the victim. You're not the one who got hurt. They are. They're being attacked. They can't do anything right. They act like your honesty is cruelty. And now you're the one who has to explain yourself. That's DARVO. It's not just emotional manipulation. It's narrative control. It turns any conversation about harm into a performance where the person being called out gets to play the hero, the martyr, or the victim. And if you're on the receiving end, it can make you feel confused, ashamed, even guilty for speaking up. You start wondering if you were too harsh, if maybe you did come off wrong. You start defending your tone instead of your truth. So, how do you deal with it? First, don't take the bait. If the conversation suddenly becomes all about their pain, their suffering, their offense, pause. Return to your point. Stick to the facts. Say, I'm willing to talk about this, but not if the original issue keeps getting buried. DARVO works when it causes confusion. It fails when you stay clear, because accountability isn't an attack and truth isn't cruelty.
I think that was a pretty good explanation of what's been going on recently.
Yeah.
I mean, they took this guy who shot somebody in cold blood, murdered him, assassinated him, and they're trying to now turn around. We're going to go into a couple of examples of it it wasn't so bad, or he had his reasons, or you get what you asked for. That's what I've been hearing this whole week. Art, what do you think? And hopefully you won't freeze up this time.
Okay, well, there must be something there whenever I talk.
Yeah, I think they're monitoring you.
The thing that, I want to see all these things that you've got here, Sean. Looking forward to it. We don't know who this kid was inspired by, for lack of a better term. We don't know, was he part of the DSA? There was one thing that came out he was. That turned out not to be true. But what I can see is, was he part of the left? He clearly was. But was he part of some organized left? Probably not. Although we're yet to see that. But what bothers me about this whole thing is that the organized left, they've done everything they can to say the but afterwards, like, oh, this guy deserved it. He believes in gun rights, therefore he deserved to be killed. And that's what bothers me, is we don't know what this guy's. Well, we know what his motives were. Obviously, was to kill somebody. But the reaction from the left is so appalling now. To me, is almost unbelievable. It's almost more unbelievable, the reaction from the left, like that person you just showed on the screen, Alicia Kozlowski's campaign manager. What an absolute disgrace. And is she going to say something about it? No. And of course, we can get into this kid too that killed him. But my thing is that it has been just absolutely mind-boggling that the left is taking this attack, and they despite them being called out a lot, they're just doubling down and just continuing more and more, and it's kind of scary. It really is kind of scary.
It is really telling to me just how confident they are to be able to come out and just feel they can express these opinions with no blowback. I think they've been coddled. They've had the police on their backs, so they get away with just about anything, and they believe that this is the right thing to do. And it's really, really troubling that they're this bold about it. I can see them having these opinions, but not knowing, just knowing in your head, it's not smart to express those opinions, but they don't even care about that. They're so bold and so emboldened that they know if they got arrested in Minneapolis for doing this, they'd never see time, because Bloody Mary is going to be there to let them off the hook.
I just see this a continuation of what's been going on, the whole Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
We've all kind of said, you kind of roll our eyes at it and say, these people are really true. I don't know about you, but I've probably lost half a dozen people that I thought were good friends of mine that do not speak to me anymore, because I don't hate Trump as much as they do. And, they have counted me off. They have cut me out of their life completely. Yeah. And it's like when you first think, there's just something wrong with these people? Well, yeah, there really is something wrong with these people. I think this is a continuation of, this is a movement or part of our society which thrives on hate. They have to be called out on it. I mean, they used to call Donald Trump a Nazi, and they called, well, this guy called Charlie Kirk a Nazi, and these people have never even seen anything that he even listened to any of his speeches, obviously.
Right.
And,
I heard a great quote. Somebody said they didn't kill him because he was a Nazi. They called him a Nazi so they could kill him. They've got to dehumanize people, keep calling them names and calling them threats to democracy. And this is happening at the highest level on down till it gets into the mind of somebody who isn't stable. And then they take care of the problem that they have set up to do it. So it's pretty sad.
I mean, this kid clearly is not stable. We could get into the trans connection on that. We could if we want, but it's like, this kid is clearly unstable. What caused that instability? Mm-hmm. Hearing this hatred spewed from the legacy media just time after time after time that everybody they don't like is a Nazi. I mean, it does affect people, particularly young people like this who clearly are lacking something in their upbringing, or they're lacking something now.
Right.
And it's like it affects those kind of people. That's the people that it affects.
Well, and then so kids in their 20s too, they don't have that in the early 20s. They don't have that part of their brain developed yet to know there's consequences. Some of them, they're very bold. That's why you have young people, 18, 19, 20 in the army. They have this invincibility complex. Now, if this kid did this and he's alleged right now, he's not guilty until proven guilty. He's innocent until proven guilty. I still stand behind that. But if it was this kid, you know, he thinks he can get away with it, and then reality is going to hit him really hard. But he was a useful tool to some people, because I don't think he did this alone, in my honest opinion.
Well, looking at these emails that we've seen on there, and I'm going to have
we're going to talk about that. In fact, I'll bring that up right now because I saw that email, and somebody put it into Chat GPT and asked if it seemed real and genuine, and said it's most likely fabricated. And you know why that is? These aren't text messages of a 20-year-old. They're text messages of a 50-year-old. You and I, Art and Dave, we all write text messages basically the same. We write full, complete sentences with periods and punctuation and all that.
Yeah.
Anybody lower than 50 years old, they're just doing emojis and for the most part, very sparse words. I read this and I'm like, this is just this doesn't make any sense. It seems like a setup to make sure that the person he's texting is exonerated, or it's a setup so that this kid will get put away, because there's too much incriminating evidence in here. It doesn't make any sense. What did you want to say about Dave? What do you think about these texts first? Then we'll go to you, Art.
Yeah, like you said, it's clearly not kids. Even my 30-year-old daughter does not text like this. She texts in short words, fake words, non-words, emojis, and
never a period.
Extremely short sentences. She would never write anything close to this, and she's old compared to this guy.
Right.
So
you never put a period on. That's threatening to some of these kids. A period is like that's a very hard thing for them to see, which to me it is like crazy, but I've heard that before. Art, what do you think about these texts? You brought it up.
I guess at this point, I don't have any reason to doubt that these are genuine texts from this guy and his was a discourse, people that he was chatting with. And some of these things are really unbelievable that somebody could be so childish and immature to say such things.
Yeah.
But I go back. I was actually in Chicago at the plaza at the bottom of the Hancock building. And this was a couple of years ago. I'm just sitting there for coffee in the morning. I was going to meet my son there and waiting for him to get there. And behind me, there's a couple of kids. I'm guessing they were probably 16 or something. And I was just listening to them. They were talking about some pigeons that were running around on the plaza trying to find food. They were literally saying that which one of these pigeons are you, or which one do you want to be, and which one do you relate to? They went on for a half-hour conversation. They were actually serious about this stuff, and they were saying how these birds, they actually are bird. When they got up and left, I was kind of like, how can somebody have a conversation like this? And to me, it was really almost unbelievable that somebody could be so shallow. They got up and they had a tail on one kid had a tail hanging down on his butt, and it's like you're talking about this whole furry connection. I mean, these people, Sean and Dave, these people are mentally ill.
Yeah.
And when I read those emails or the text, or not the emails, the text, and I guess I can believe it because I've heard it. I've heard these people talk. And these people clearly are mentally ill.
Yeah. And that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, the shooter for the Annunciation school, his girlfriend was a furry.
Yeah.
So he
exactly.
was trans, and then he met someone just as messed up as him, and between that and the drugs that he were taking to transfer over, just threw him for a loop, and that's how he fixed it. That's how he thought he could fix it. So
yeah.
So yeah, we could really talk about the whole drugs and the trans thing. Again, it's like just kind of scary when this stuff happens over and over again. And pretty soon, this stuff really should be talked about.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, I think here when I was talking about how they're trying to normalize this guy too, I think Scott Jennings put it the best, and I'm going to play this clip. It's 1:39, but Montel Williams here, which I was surprised, I couldn't remember who he was, but he used to be a talk show host. I was surprised he's still alive. I thought he had died years ago, so it was shocking. But this is the spin that you're seeing now.
Talking about a love-torn child, a kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up? Then he took the shot.
You think he heard it? He could hear it.
I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally.
Guys.
So that's Montel trying to set it up. So, and I've seen more people doing this, and we're going to play one more clip of this. It wasn't political. It was emotional. This wasn't because it was Charlie Kirk, the politician, or not a politician, but the right-wing guy. It was all emotion. It was just trying to stand up for love. They're really pushing this agenda lately. They tried to make him left or a right-wing person all weekend, and you're going to see what Scott has to say about that. But now they're trying to change the narrative again. So here's what Scott had to say for that, and he says it much better than I do. Here you go.
Guys, the evidence here is overwhelming. He said, Charlie Kirk, I can't stand this hate anymore. I'm going to take him out. The testimony from him and the statements of his family, he had become more left wing. He etched the statements that are made by the left about Republicans and conservatives and Charlie Kirk fascists on the bullet casings.
He made a joke about it in his last text.
Well, it doesn't sound like a joke to me because someone's dead and about to be buried.
Well,
so it doesn't sound like a joke to me. So I'm just telling you, there was an effort all weekend long on the left to try to make this guy sound like he was a conservative. That failed. That was passed around all over the weekend. That has now failed. The evidence has now come out. He was motivated by hate. He was motivated by left-wing radicalism. He got mixed up with some trans ideology in his life. We'll learn more about that, I'm sure, when more evidence and testimony comes out. We are looking around the edges of this for something other than what's staring us in the face. Left-wing radicalism got this kid. He went up to a roof and he murdered our friend, and that's what happened.
Talking about
That is well put.
yeah.
Scott Jennings, he's on CNN all the time. I can't believe he does that because it's a classic liberal thing. It's 8 against 1, but he holds his own, and I think he said it really well there. stop trying to make this something that's okay. It is what it is. It's a kid that's politically motivated, and he was encouraged by the upper levels of politics. That includes Nancy Pelosi and AOC and all the other people that went off and said they're Nazis, they're threats to democracy. And then this kid got in his head, I'm going to kill them, and I'm going to be a hero.
It was just unbelievable, that guy that said, well, this is an emotional reaction. I mean, what?
Right.
That guy is the guy that was on the TV there. I mean, he clearly thinks some emotion gives a justification to go out there and murdering somebody.
Right.
I mean, it's like, what?
And does that make it better? Does that somehow make it okay?
Well, but this guy, that was his opinion, and why he's got a good job before him. As we talked earlier, this guy should lose his job over such outlandish, ridiculous things to say about somebody that was murdered. And that is just, it's hard to believe when I hear this stuff.
And it doesn't stop with him. Dave, I'm going to get your opinion, but I want to share this one more because this is on a theme here. This is ABC.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate, who was transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and riveting press conference, David.
It was tough.
Yeah, it seems really strange that, he was considering everyone Nazis and fascists, which are leftist ideologies. But, they came from the left. So obviously he didn't even study what a fascist is, what a Nazi is. He was just repeating the talking points of the left. You're a threat to democracy. You're a Nazi. You're a fascist. And all of those are leftist ideologies. And he was just repeating them because he obviously doesn't know anything about what they actually stand for, what they actually mean.
Right.
This is just name calling after name calling. After name calling comes hate and more hate and more hate. And after the hate comes the violence, which we've seen here.
Right.
It all starts out with this ridiculous name calling that we've seen the Democrats do for the last whatever it is, 3 months since Trump got elected, and before that for literally 4 years when he was president. And it's like, have they no shame?
Right. And you see the two different ways they deal with things too. Do you remember the kid that I think he peeled out on top of a LGBTQ mural on a street, and he got jail time for it? I'm going to show you this. And I'm not going to play the whole video of this, but it's religious too. Somebody did a Charlie Kirk memorial on a rock, and these people came by and just defaced it. And then when somebody tried to stop them, they threw paint on him. She has faced no consequences up to the point where I've read about this now of that action. So they can deface stuff, they can attack you, but you don't get any kind of ramifications for the person doing it. And that just encouraged them to do more. That's what they're doing. They're encouraging this violence.
That's typical majority district. Is the crimes keep getting worse and worse because there's no consequences for the small crimes. Carjackings are up massively, but the kids are home by dinner times.
Yeah, even if they get picked up.
Yeah. So the cops are doing their job. It's the prosecutors and the judges that aren't. Eventually they're going to realize, hey, if we can get away with that, then we can get away with the next step. And that's what's going on, especially with vandalizing that memorial. Yeah.
They're just emboldened by it. She's doing this in broad daylight and she doesn't care, and nothing happened to her. So that's a problem too. There's got to be consequences for this. I'm going to go on to just a couple more items here. Last week we had a stream, or we showed a video of Ilhan Omar talking about this and doing the same thing. It's horrible, but he deserved it, basically. And that's paraphrasing, but that's basically what she was saying. Speaker Mike Johnson called out this rhetoric on his assassination, and she's saying, paying into his characterization of him that the left has been advancing. There are people actually celebrating his murder online, and that tells you everything you need to know. So Johnson is aware of what she said. And then I see this. Johnson has no plans to punish Omar for comments justifying Charlie Kirk's murder. And we played this video last week. I can't stand to listen to it again, otherwise I'd play it again.
Yeah.
But, and I'm following a theme here, Nancy Mace is bringing her up on censorship, and she wants to get her off committees. Now, say what you want about that not being enough. At least she's doing something about it. So I take my hat off to Nancy Mace, and she's not even from Minnesota.
Yeah, it's good. Somebody's doing something.
I mean, as a minimum, they probably can't remove her from office. I think that's probably very difficult to do.
Sure.
But they should be censoring her. Censoring is just a parliamentary procedure where you're saying somebody is actually showing the actual body in a negative light. And if she clearly did that, and as a minimum, she should be censored. I mean, I got censored when I was on the school board because I brought questions up about the budget and where all the money went, for example. Well, you think somebody in Congress could censor somebody who makes these outlandish statements that are fueled by rhetoric and hate, and that is what leads to the violence. And of course, remember, well, I'll say this here: the whole Muslim religion with Omar, of course, is part of. They seem to celebrate a lot of violence. Look what Hamas does, and they still support them, despite them murdering and raping people. That seems to be okay for that religion to do. So hey, maybe that's some impact going on now in our country too.
Yeah. All right, and then I'm going to finish up with, I hate giving this guy any views, but I'm going to do it because we need to see it. Jimmy Kimmel, the supposed comedian, on his late night show, had this to say.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction.
Yeah, so I don't know what this guy's role is anymore. He's certainly not a comedian. He certainly doesn't have an entertaining talk show. And I don't know what's going to happen now that the USAID money has dried up. Hopefully he gets canceled just like the other guy did, Stephen Colbert.
I could throw in one more thing on our comedians, Bill Maher. I don't know if you heard his clips, but he occasionally comes out of his left-wing shell. And he was pretty direct, at least the quotes I read and the clips I've seen about him, calling out people, Democrats that are calling Trump Nazis and Republican Nazis. He said, you can't do that. That is absolutely wrong. So occasionally you get some comedians that are former comedians that occasionally say something intelligent. So that was nice to hear some people like that pushing back on it.
Yeah. Well, I want to kind of close this segment out now. So Dave, do you have any closing thoughts on this?
Well, that's they gave Colbert a participation award at the Emmys this last weekend.
Of course.
And so, well, I mean, that'll be Jimmy Kimmel's role next year, because
we can hope.
But I just got a text here. Disney's ABC pulls Jimmy Kimmel Live after FCC chair blasts host Charlie Kirk's comments. So Jimmy Kimmel just got canceled.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. So that's why we like live comments, to keep us up to date on how stupid our comedians are. Or, well, yeah, like you said, he's not even a comedian anymore. So
yeah. Oh yeah, I got a text too, and another text of furries.
I mean, you have to laugh at furries, except unfortunately they're extremely unstable, violent people.
Yeah, I mean, well, for the most part, in the past, they've just kind of stayed in their own weird little world. It's just now recently they've just been raising the temperature on all this stuff, and now they feel like they're threatened in some way. Like Alicia Kozlowski's campaign manager is saying that she will fight and die for trans rights, and I still haven't gotten the answer of what rights are under attack that you think you're losing or don't have, and I can't get a straight answer other than you hate us, which I don't really care about you that much. I know that might be a hard thing for you to hear, but you don't really come across my mind that much. If you can stay away from kids, being around like school children that aren't your family members, and don't make me pay for it, I don't really care what you do, honestly. So yeah, okay. So let's move on from here. We're going to go on to Duluth news now. And we only got a couple things for Duluth, but we're going to talk some politics too. But I'm going to bring up this first article, which is Duluth has given Minnesota's first licensed dispensary for marijuana or cannabis. And it's in Lincoln Park. Take that from what you will. And you got a lineup of people waiting for it. So yay for Duluth. We've made the news yet again. Aren't we good? And it's cannabis that can be highly taxed and highly regulated. And probably the people that have been going around the law for many years are not going to be going to this place to get what they want. So that's just my guess. I don't know. I don't know these guys. I thought it was funny though. This is the guy running it. And man, if you told me this is a stoner, I think I'd believe you.
So I can't wait. I'm going to go down there. I can't wait to get to be the first customer. Maybe I was too late for that, but boy, like when you just want to buy and give this guy $100 for something that's going to make you high.
Yeah, I want to open up like a snack shop next door, like chips, tacos. I make a killing, man.
Well, we laugh at that, as we should, and I've occasionally, a long time ago, I smoked a little bit of pot, and so I know what it's all about. Back in the days when it was very, very, very cheap. But anybody, it seems to be people on the left right now that one of their God-given rights of humanity is that you can do all the drugs that you want, including marijuana, and it's like. Sorry, I don't really think that's a really high measure of somebody's freedom and somebody's ability to express themselves, being able to smoke, do all the drugs they want. Sorry, there's something wrong with that. And there's no doubt that, in my mind now, that marijuana is a gateway drug. And even though it's not, do you want your lawyer? Yeah, I'm an engineer. Do you want an engineer designing bridges? Do you want your doctor? Do you want anybody that you're associated with to be high on marijuana? Do you want somebody driving in your car?
Right.
I mean, obviously, we do not want. I still don't know if they've got any good drugs or tests
Yeah, to test for the marijuana. Unfortunately, Art froze again, but I think his point is basically, do you want somebody that's in any position of authority
to be able to
or
test the
operating a big vehicle to be under the influence? Sorry, Art, you froze there when you were talking. Somebody's monitoring you.
Yeah, right. As soon as I mentioned marijuana, oh my God, somebody's criticizing
Cut him.
marijuana.
So
Right.
what I don't
Well, what was
understand is the
interesting,
state has been telling us for decades, centuries, that smoking is bad for us. But then when they see a dollar sign, then now it's okay.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. So congratulations, Duluth. You got the first dispensary. Go at it. Have a good time. Just don't drive your car around there. The next thing I want to bring up is there's going to be something on a referendum on the ballot for deciding if it's called a right to repair bill. And this is a bill for if tenants can go and call their landlord, the landlord would have, I think,
14 days or something like that. I think we lost Sean now too. Oh, there now Sean.
I accidentally clicked a side button on my mouse and it dropped me out of the studio. So I'm going to talk about it again. And it looks like Art's gone for now. So we'll bring him back when he comes back in.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a referendum. It's right to repair. And I think the idea is a landlord has a certain number of days, and I want to say it's pretty low, like 14 days to respond. 14. If a tenant goes to the landlord and says something needs to be repaired, and the landlord doesn't respond within 14 days, the tenant can go and make that repair or have it contracted out to make that repair up to $500 or half the amount of the rent. And I don't know if which is greater. So there's Art. He's back. Welcome back, Art.
Yeah, I went out and reloaded. Maybe.
Yeah. Stop talking about marijuana. You won't be kicked off so often. So we're talking about the right to repair bill, and that a tenant can go and say, "Hey, go to their landlord. This thing needs to get fixed." Landlord doesn't respond within 2 weeks. They go out and fix it, and then they take up to $500 or half the rent off their rent payment for the next month. And so I actually had a woman come out to my house to make me aware of this. And it was really good because I talked to this woman and I don't know what her position was. I'm assuming the position was that she wanted to pass, but she never told me that. She wasn't trying to tell me what to do. She was making me aware of it. So she did a really good job. And I had a discussion with her. I was like, well, so tell me about it. And she told me what she knew. And I said, the one thing I'm concerned about is, well, first of all, there are other mechanisms people can go to as tenants to get this done. Yeah, and Duluth has its own commission set up for this kind of stuff already. So the city of Duluth is already taking on this. State of Minnesota does. And I said, what I'm concerned about is the abuse that it could cause. You know for a fact somebody is going to every month have $500 worth of repairs that have to be done to their place. And they're going to find a way to do it so that they can take $500 off their rent, farm the money off to, oh, my buddy here is going to do the contracting work. He's going to charge me $500, not do minimal work and then split the money. So I'm worried about that. I'm concerned about it. I think every tenant needs to be able to live in a safe place. They need to be able to know that things are going to get repaired. But there can't be, maybe the state, maybe this isn't where the government should be getting involved since they're already so involved the way it is. So I wanted to lay that out for you guys to talk about. Art, we'll go to you first this time before you get kicked off.
Okay. I noticed that has been pushed by the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, Twin Ports. They talk about it on their website all the time. I really didn't know what it was, so thank you, Sean, for telling me what this is. I see it's an easy way to make scapegoats out of people. That's basically all landlords are bad and evil and are ripping off everybody. And all the poor renters, they're just barely squeaking by, and they're being discriminated against, and they're not being taken care of, and they're being abused. Well, that whole narrative is wrong on many levels, and it isn't just the rental stuff with that narrative. These people say these people, the far left, DSA, which is running the DFL in Duluth, of course, as we all know, and I'm sure there is some bad landlords out there too, but there's also some bad renters out there. And somehow, I think the options that you mentioned, Sean, I wasn't aware of. I'm not a renter. I don't rent out either. I'm not involved in it at all. But I know there's methods there. We have a court system that's set up to allow people to adjudicate disputes.
Right.
And I don't know why we need another law. Is this going to be a Duluth law they're pushing, or is this something in Minnesota that's being pushed?
This is going to be on the ballot, and that the voters will decide whether this will pass or not.
Oh, it's a referendum for just Duluth or Minnesota?
Just Duluth.
How does somebody get a referendum on the ballot for just Duluth? I didn't even know.
They had to get a number of signatures that passed, and then they bypassed the city council because city council doesn't like this. I actually saw a bit of a debate, not a debate, but a forum between one of the current city councilors and one of the leaders of this thing. But the funny thing is, since they're both Democrats, it was just a matter of which solution was going to cost more. And so they were arguing about, what the city councilor was saying. Well, this should be a city council thing, and we should come up with a plan, because if you do a referendum, then it's out of our control. So it's really just a control thing for the city council. But they wanted to have a plan too, just to bring something else up. And the problem with the person from the right to repair thing was, it's just not fast enough. We need things right now. It has to happen right now. Well, if it's an emergency situation and it's a health concern, that's that big of an emergency, we have systems in place to secure people for that. If we don't have enough people on that committee in Duluth already for that, maybe that's where you should be spending your time and effort to maybe bolster that, or maybe put some extra tax money into it. Maybe you can make a contribution, but I don't think we need extra laws. Dave, what do you think about this?
Yeah, we don't need it because we've already got state laws. If you're going to layer another procedure over the state laws, you're just adding expense. You're adding problems. Especially if we already have all the laws. There's no reason to just keep continually nitpicking laws for everyone. Like Art said, we've already got the court system. If he's not doing it, if the landlord isn't doing it fast enough, boom, you bring him to court. If the landlord has too many court injunctions against him, the state will get involved. But that's the way it should be, though. It should be, oh, you made one mistake, not a big deal. We'll sweep it under the rug. But now you've got 50 complaints against you that went to court. Now the state should step in and fix it. Yeah. But the Duluth doesn't need its own set of rules for it. That's just adding a layer of garbage that we don't need. We're already over regulated as it is. So.
Well, who's pushing this? Obviously, the DSA has, because I go on their website, and the DSA, we know they run the Duluth DFL, but they also think that the answer to every problem they have is to add more government. They think government is somehow the good guy in everything. I work for the government, and there's a need for government. We all know that. We have military, but the government isn't the answer to everything. And it's like, this is a thing. If you have a real bad landlord, he's not going to get any renters pretty soon. I mean, Duluth is certainly, there's a lot of options for renting. They're building brand new apartment buildings everywhere in Duluth right now. If you got a crappy landlord, you move out and you get a better one. I mean, it's that simple. And don't expect some government agency to do this. And these that are promoting it think that, hey, government is the answer to everything. Just keep throwing in more money.
The government is not your daddy and mommy. The government is not here to be a parental unit. It's a paternalistic society these guys want. In fact, I talked to that woman who pointed out to me that 40% of the housing is rentals in Duluth. I didn't back up that, but that shocked me if it's really 40% of rentals. But I talked about how I had a situation at when I was renting way back, and I took a stand. I said, if you guys don't not increase my rent, I'm going to leave. They didn't back down, so I left. And she was like, wow, that's impressive. You actually stood up. No, that's what you have to do. As an adult, you have to stand up for yourself and take action and take decisive action too, and not back down from it. That's what these guys don't want to do, though. I have a feeling there's a great level of immaturity where they just don't want to talk on the phone. They don't want to make decisions. They don't even like ordering at a restaurant. That's a problem. We need to toughen up a little bit here, I think.
That's free market right there, capitalism.
Yeah.
If the landlord isn't up to the standards, out the door. Eventually he goes out of business because no one's going to rent from him.
Right.
Well, can you imagine, put this as a scenario, that the government owned all these apartments?
Oh, God.
And the renter was having a problem with their rent. Can you imagine how hard it would be to get anything fixed? And I worked for the government, and as I say, there's a lot of good things the government does, but
yeah, look at Section 8 housing. Look at the VA.
Oh my God. I mean, that would be a total disaster, which nobody wanted, including the DSA.
Yeah, putting people that are the least capable of doing anything in charge of everything is the worst idea.
Welcome to the government.
And speaking of such, now moving on to the Duluth City Council candidates. I'm going to show you that in District 2, these two people, Diane DeSelli, I'm not going to try it. Diane and Chris have advanced to District 2, which is my district. And it was a pretty lopsided. 80% went to Diane, who is, and I'm going to share Diane's image here, or her stuff. This is from her campaign site. I don't know if you notice a trend here, but you got the DFL, DFLEC, women, a sexist organization. She was endorsed by the previous guy. So this is the person that got 80% of the vote. So if this holds true, we'll have yet another Democrat woman on the city council. Unless that other guy who owns a plumbing company, I believe. O'Brien Plumbing, I think. So unless he does really well, and we should I will probably try to get behind this guy and get the votes out for him, because I think we need somebody else. We need some different voices on the city council, because it is very much female-led DFL city council, which they're going to get a lot of stuff passed, but there is no diversity on that crew anymore. Eric Forsman's the only guy that's on there, and he's not much different from the rest of them as far as I can tell for voting wise.
Well, another thing that we're going to see through all the candidates that you're going to mention here, Sean, is that they're all endorsed by the DFL and all the DFL spinoffs, like the Duluth Women, Duluth Eco Council, whatever it is, and also the group called Duluth Indivisible. And that they seem to be endorsing everybody now. They're the people that put out this poster that I mentioned at the start there about calling Trump and Vance and Musk and with chainsaws over their head about cutting. And so those are these people, and I'm surprised now that the DFL isn't fighting between the Duluth Indivisible and the DSA, for example. I don't know how they go together here, but they both seem to be pretty radical.
Yeah.
I would like to say, though, that the primaries, I don't know if I ever knew, but I'm assuming the primary vote participation was something like 15%. That's what it was.
Pretty low.
Yeah. And there's so few people that vote in the primary. The only people that do are the Duluth Indivisible and all the diehard DFLers.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of us that are working, we don't pay much attention. I would tell this other fellow that do not lose faith. I came in the bottom of my primary, I think twice, and I usually won during the final election. So
Oh,
So
very good.
anyway, this guy, tell him, hope he doesn't get discouraged because you can't
Yeah.
do, you know, when you bring up affiliations with these people, and you show all the posters that they're hauling around and showing people the violent posters they have. You know, that's maybe that'll help him. I hope that he does that.
Well, here's the 4 people that are going on to Duluth City Council at Large position. And you can see the splitting out. So it's really 3 people that got basically split 3 ways when it comes down to it. Terese is a existing city councilor. Derek Medved used to be a city councilor, and Jordon Johnson has tried to be a city councilor for a couple times here. And if I show this, let's take a look at Terese's page. Her endorsements. There they are again. DFL, DFL Seniors, Duluth Indivisible. This is what you're talking about. Let's get rid of that banner. And then if we go to Jordon Johnson, so let's remove this one. And here's Jordon Johnson's endorsements. So it's like we have the same candidate running in every, it's basically the same. And they already dominate the city council. I think there's one person on there, and I'm spacing on her name right now, but she's really good. And so anyway, I won't go into it, but I don't think it's right to have a city that's totally run by one party. And I don't think it's right that if it's a nonpartisan election, you should be getting endorsed by an actual party. Be non-endorsed. Let your thoughts run it, not your endorsements to the DFL, because that's going to, that's just going to win you in Duluth. You could put a chicken with a DFL endorsement, it'd probably win. Unfortunately.
That is unfortunate, but
yeah, there shouldn't be any endorsements, because then it's basically how you figure out people who, how they're thinking. So instead of just, using their endorsements as how they think, make them present what they think on their webpage or door to door or through advertising. No, 0 endorsements.
Right. So you have to actually do some research to figure out what the people think, as opposed to just saying, oh, DFL, I'll vote for him, or
right,
RNC, I'll vote for him. It goes the other way too.
Well, it's when you get in, or the DFL and the DSA and now the Duluth Indivisible, they love to get people fired up, even though these are supposed to be nonpartisan. Okay, Duluth Indivisible is a nonpartisan race because it's not a major political party. But the DFL, of course, is, and all these other DFL feminists, DFL eco group, all that kind of stuff. These are all that. And I was part of the DFL, as for a long time, and until I got excommunicated, thank God. But they seem to love getting involved in nonpartisan races.
Oh,
the
yeah.
main thing is they have to keep all the troops fired up. Keep them fired up. Keep that rhetoric going. Keep that rhetoric going to hate. Otherwise, they have to keep that hate going, and they do that by jumping into races they should not be part of because they can get the troops fired up. And you go on to all the stuff from was it Blue Wave? All these advertisements you get on the web. I block out almost these every once in a while. I turn off my blockers. And boy, the stuff they send out is absolutely disgustingly just a bunch of lightweight pap. And it's really, really sad. But that's all we get their troops fired up.
They got to keep us divided, because otherwise we'd figure out what they're doing. So as long as people are divided and hateful and angry, they make money and they set their policies what they want. And this is why we need to kind of come together and find out that I know a lot of staunch Democrats. Probably the only thing that I disagree with them on is their hatred for Donald Trump. Other than that, we can talk about issues and agree on most of them, or come to a common ground where it isn't so angry and isn't so, divisive. My position and a lot of people's position is leave me alone. I mean, please just leave me alone. Let me do what I want to do. Let me keep some of my money. It doesn't seem like too radical of a position, but they got to keep us fighting each other.
Well, they always make it us versus them.
Right.
The people that are renting and people that own rental, they're bad people. The people that rent, they're all good people. And it's like, and boy, you're just gonna rub that in over and over again. It's sad, but you didn't get to the last race. I know you're gonna talk about the next race.
No, talk about it. What do you think we're going to talk about? Because that was it. I had the two.
Well, you didn't mention, I think, was that District 4, which is Tara Swanson and
Tara Swanson. That's what I was trying to remember. She's really good.
Yeah, no, she seems to have a half a brain, and that's good. But anyway, if you got David Klano, I don't know, am I pronouncing that right?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Anyway, it's Clanaugh. So I apologize if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but he's also been endorsed by the whole gamut of people, and also by the DSA, of course. They had a big DSA endorsement, and let me read some of the stuff that he put out to the DSA. Be a loud voice of what socialism is. Create a socialist bloc collective on the city council. Be willing to he's willing to reach out to make sure that the DSA will hold him accountable to what they've endorsed him for.
Oh, so they're running the show.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's the DFL does that too, and I can tell you lots of stories about that. But they're going to endorse you, you have to meet with them, and you have to hear their critiques from them in private. That's how the DFL works, and it's obviously how the DSA works, because I've got it in writing right here. And it said, would you support civil disobedience in council meetings? Yes. Exclamation point. Okay. Some other, for addressing systemic racism. How do you compensate for the history of white privilege in wealth and advancing the BIPOC individuals? Okay, more policies like clean and green over policing. Due to layers of historical oppression and trauma, we need real ways of addressing that through equity rather than equality. I can go on and on, but you'll happen to have some of his quotes here from the DSA, and it's like, oh my God, does anybody know what this guy is? Does he know how he's coming across? Obviously he does, because he said this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's why I had to turn the light here so you can't see me, because I had to be able to read my highlighting here.
It looks good. Well, that's scary enough. I want to get Tara on here to talk to us, and just give her. I want to find out what she's all about and get her a platform. So we're going to try to talk to her pretty quick.
Oh, fantastic! You got her on here. Oh, fantastic.
We're trying. So I've been working with her to try to get her.
I didn't know that, so I made those quotes about her opponent without knowing she's going to be on here. So just so your audience knows that, I didn't know you're going to have
tonight.
Her.
She's not tonight.
Okay. Well, fantastic.
Well, I'm gonna let's push it on a little bit. We're going a little long tonight, so we're gonna go on to my favorite subject and Dave's favorite subject. I think yours too. Our vaunted Governor Tim Walz has decided that he's going to run again, and so he's going to go for a third term. So I thought I'd show you. My wife sent me a great video of a real, honest, endorsement.
I've been to every corner of Minnesota, and there's nothing like it.
See those maps, red and blue, and there's all that red across there, and Democrats go into depression over it. It's mostly rocks and cows that are in that red area.
I've seen how we help each other through the hard times.
But I've not been perfect, and I'm a knucklehead at times.
But it's in these moments.
I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. You bully the shit out of him.
And I'll never stop fighting to protect us from the chaos, corruption, and cruelty coming out of Washington.
Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner.
May his fat ankles find something today.
We do not have the luxury to fight amongst ourselves while that thing sits in the White House.
We can't lose hope. because I've seen what we can do when we work together.
Think of how easy it would be to be a damn Republican. Oh, what should I wear today? This stupid freaking red hat.
Cutting taxes for the middle class.
However, there are also taxes going up for most Minnesotans,
while also making the largest investments in public safety.
One of the few tweets we've had from any kind of official source tonight, and in my opinion, that is inexcusable. We have reached out to the governor, to the mayor of St. Paul, to the mayor of Minneapolis, both police chiefs. We are getting no response tonight.
We've raised graduation rates to the highest ever.
Most Minnesota students are falling behind state standards in math, and only about 50% of students are proficient in reading.
I wanted to stop for a second and point that one out. Our governor, who was theoretically a teacher, we went over this last week. The stats are plummeting, and they're under 50% in reading and math. And the graduation rate's 79% or something like that. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, I know all about it. No, it is for them to brag about our education system. Yeah, not the Minnesota Miracle anymore. It's the Minnesota ridiculousness.
Reading.
Crack down on fraud and protect our tax dollars.
Bribes, falsified records, and taxpayers charged to help dead people find housing.
Thousands of dollars for work that's not being done.
Fake meetings.
They just billed us for nothing.
Forged names.
I did not sign this legal document.
Homeless veterans.
I never met any of these people.
Dead people billed. Phantom services.
For that $14,000, you got what?
Nothing.
Now I'm hitting the road to listen to you and talk about our future.
What's wrong is our country's being stole by fascists and Nazis, and we're trying to do all we can to try and do it.
So there he is, our great governor. He's running for a third term. Oh, and he's taken out his 1973 Bronco apparently on the road because it's a Holmesy thing, and he's a guy who can work on trucks. So God bless him. He's going to give us material for the next, until he loses this election because he's a national disgrace.
But there's never been a third-term Minnesota governor. So if he makes a third term, if he ever makes a third term, that would be a record breaker. So the chances of him getting a third term are extremely low. And the more he opens his mouth, the easier to see he's not going to win again. So,
Dave, you've got way too much faith in the people of Minnesota. But I know what's going to say the people of Minnesota is there's a group out there called the No Kings. And I think that they're going to jump on this and saying that a third term is not acceptable to the people of Minnesota because that would make him a king, and that's not acceptable to those people.
Correct. Yep. Yeah.
It could actually be useful to us. One last thing to round out Walz is, and I'm skipping a bunch of stuff here because I'm just going to tighten this up a bit. He is calling seems certain to call a special session with heightened security. So the point of this will be to eliminate your Second Amendment rights to own and operate firearms. They're going to use the tragedies because you never let a good tragedy go to waste about the school shooting and then Charlie Kirk to try to ban guns in Minnesota. Not going to the root cause. The gun is the tool. It's not the thing that's actually the problem. The problem is the person picking up the gun. You don't ban forks because somebody got fat. You don't ban guns and take away all of our rights and our rights to protect ourselves just because there's some crazy people out there. Maybe we should start focusing on the people doing the killings. Maybe there's a pattern to these school shootings. Maybe there's a reason these guys go against the vulnerable people that can't fight back. Maybe there are signs that you can check and see. If somebody is so uncomfortable with their own body, maybe they're not qualified to own a gun. I hate to do any gun control at all. I think those people should actually be put into institutions until they get things figured out. But he's going to call a special session probably. And I'm just wondering if any of the Republicans will show up. Because that would be tasty if they just decided to all just not show up. They can't have a quorum. They can't do any business. They're done.
This is my favorite headline I think I've seen all year. It just proves how stupid Walz is and how incredibly dumb he is. So he's going to have a special session with heightened security. So he has more guns to protect him, so he can take away your guns, so you can't protect yourself.
It's a circular argument.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait a minute, Dave. Now the government, they have the right of all the guns they want. I mean, it's just us citizens that don't have rights. I mean, the government is there to protect us. Now, if you're in Palestine or something, maybe that's a little bit different story. I guess it's okay for them to go out and kill and butcher thousands of people and stuff, but hey, but we can't have guns to defend ourselves against those people. But yeah, it's such a bizarre circular argument. But
yeah, I mean,
really emotional. That's all. You know, the thing you mentioned about guns, how about solving some of the ideological hate that's going on in our country right now?
Right.
Yeah, because they're the ones talking about toning down the rhetoric, and then Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, and within 24 hours, we can find months worth of hatred from the same people that talk about toning down the rhetoric. So it's ridiculous.
You want to have some fun news about the DFL? You want to see something that's positive? I like to show the positive stuff, right? I'm like that. I'm good like that. The state Democrats turned on each other after alleged misgendering at a recent meeting. I think this is fantastic. I don't know if you guys ever seen, there was a video of one of these DFL meetings, and it never got anything done. It was just long drawn out process of people expressing how they were getting triggered, how they were getting nervous, how they didn't like this. It was just nothing got done because they just couldn't agree on anything, or they got angry about things. So it's pretty funny.
Well, there's another thing to add to that here, Sean, is that, you know, remember in Minneapolis, the Minneapolis DFL endorsed what's his name, the guy that was the DSA guy who's running for mayor.
Yeah, the small guy.
Yeah, you know, they Omar Fatah. They endorsed him, and then, believe it or not, the Minnesota DFL took that endorsement away. I don't know why they would do such a thing. I mean, we know this. Omar Fatah is a good guy, and now the Minneapolis DFL is suing the Minnesota DFL for something. Don't ask me what. And anyway,
you gotta love to see it.
Yeah. It'd be nice if, I mean, the Republicans, I'm part of the Republican Party, we have our drama too. But it's good to see some of the drama that even the mainstream media is talking about, the drama in the DFL party now. So they're obviously not little angels sitting up there protecting everybody. They're protecting their own butt.
Right.
But how, I mean, the Democrats are standing on their high horses screaming at us because we're not using the right pronouns when they don't even understand it. I mean, if they can't do it, they'll tell somebody else how to do it because you don't know. So,
well, it just shows
pronouns.
Yeah, well, there we're getting into the whole pronoun thing. The pronoun thing is the most absurd. One of our more absurd things that are kind of, I know somebody that asked me to call him or her some proper pronoun. I will do that. But if I misgender somebody because they're obviously a man, you know, it's not my fault that a man looks like a man or a woman looks like a woman. Sort of, I'll use the pronouns that come naturally for everybody. And the whole thing is so absurd. But that's another story. I don't know if you're going to get to that at all, Sean.
I'm clearly going to clean cut some of this stuff. I just have a couple more actually that I want to show, and then we're going to wrap it up here. But yesterday, you were there too. Liz Collins from Alpha News came and talked to a group for District 3B, I believe it is, and she pointed out an article from Alpha News. So she's from Alpha News, and she was pointing out some news articles, and I didn't know this, but when we had a trifecta. I don't know if people understand this, but the DFL passed a law that says you have to justify hiring somebody if they're in a non-represented candidate for a job where underrepresentation is said to exist. So the whole concept of underrepresentation in a job just makes no sense. But you have to actually get justification. And if you read through this, and it's kind of telling, hiring supervisors must provide a hiring justification when seeking to hire a non-underrepresented candidate when hiring for a vacancy in a job category with underrepresentation. Hiring justifications must be submitted to and approved by the DHS Equal Opportunity and Access Division prior to the offer of employment being made. Employees may be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination for failure to comply with these policies. If that isn't systemic racism, I don't know what is. They complained about having systemic racism in the government, in the policies for years. And maybe that was true back in the 1930s, but they've eliminated it, but now they're putting it back in. And that was from a DFL trifecta. That's the problem with having a DFL trifecta. They put things like this in.
It was just horrible, Sean. And I know we're running low here, but I will tear off into this that the Duluth schools, I wanted to talk about them, but I'll talk about it real quick again. They are hiring another director of advancing equity.
Oh my God.
Read some of the stuff as this came out. Duluth Public Schools is seeking a visionary leader to serve as our director of advancing equity, a key member of our executive team. This pivotal role will drive our district-wide equity and inclusion efforts, ensuring that every student has access to an excellent, equitable education. I can go on and on and on. Oversee the district achievement and integration, minute equity achievement plan. Those are actually things that the school has to do. Serve as a Title VI and Title IX compliance coordinator. And according to Minnesota, that means Title IX is a women's, and that means letting trans women play in women's sports. Okay. Supervise and support equity focused teams, including integration specialists and families and transition coordinators. And you know how much the salary is on this here too, Sean?
Is it six figures?
Yes. It ranges between $110,000 and $128,000, plus the first comprehensive benefits package. And they ended off by saying, if you're passionate about equity, inclusion, and student success, we encourage you to apply and make a lasting impact on the future of Duluth Public Schools. You can see, this, I wish this would have been more front and center when I was on the school board. Mm-hmm. It was just really getting speed, and I didn't really know what was going on.
So it's DEI.
Our student achievement rates are dismal. Minnesota or Duluth is one of the worst cities, school districts in the state. The state of Minnesota has one of the worst school performing rates in the country.
This is just DEI with a new label.
Right. Another $128,000 plus to throw another $50,000-$60,000 in there for the benefits. Yeah. And you can see where all this money is going. And it obviously has not helped students whatsoever. And as that law that you read, Sean,
it not only doesn't help them, it's damaging our kids too. That's the whole purpose. Sorry, you froze there for a second, so I just kind of vamped for you. But yeah, this isn't just costing us money. It's hurting our students. It's hurting the employment. It's setting up this sandy foundation on the schools that are just going to crumble because of this. It's got to stop. And I don't want to hear them talk about not getting enough money if they have money for something like this. They just lost any argument they had with me that they need more money or they're not getting their budget. You've got way too much money if you've got this person on staff, from my opinion.
And we discussed last week about the city council promoting that LGBT stuff, which is promoting racism or,
yes,
promoting one group over another group.
Right.
The government is not allowed to do that.
it's picking winners. When we're talking about artists last week, we talked about this LGBTQ thing that came through the Duluth City Council to put up a directory of LGBTQ owned businesses so they could distribute it. And it's like, why are they so special that they get promotion by the city of Duluth over other businesses? Other businesses have to compete with these same businesses, but you're putting a special directory out as if these are the places you should be going. I don't understand how that's even legal, to be honest. And the city attorneys are right there, and I'd like to ask them that question. How is this legal?
Well, there's no way it's legal. If it ever went to the Supreme Court, this would all be thrown out.
Yeah.
You can't hire somebody based on race. You can't hire somebody based on their sexual preferences. I mean, that's just wrong. It's a violation of so many things in our country. But in Minnesota, doesn't care. They go ahead and do it anyway.
Right. And then if it gets shot down, they'll just do it again, and they'll have to rise up all the way. Damage being done the whole time.
And of course, the school board is, of course, ultimately responsible for this. And of course, that means obviously we need a new school board. And we do have a couple of good people running for the school board, and I hope that they get out. People vote for them.
We'll have to highlight those people. I don't know enough, but do you have enough to talk about it right now? Do you know who some of the people on the school board to look out for are?
Sure. People to look out for is the people that I'm saying that you should vote for. If you're worried about what's happening in the school district, about the DEI, the racism that's clearly going on, I can have lots of other examples on that. You want people that I think are going to try to change that. One would be Frances Wittenberg. She's running against Rosie Loeffler Kemp, and Rosie Loeffler Kemp has been the promoter of all this stuff for the last 12 years. I mean, it's very obvious. We need somebody that has a different opinion once in a while on the school board. Some Francis I think would be a good alternative to have some inclusivity on there. On the at-large race, we have Lauren Martell is running again, and Lauren knows so much about the school budget. It's really quite amazing. Harry Welty is running also. He was on the school board when I was on the school board. And, again, their opponents, I don't know a lot about them because they've been only on there for about 4 years. But we clearly know there has to be a change in the Duluth governance of the schools.
Yeah.
So we'll certainly vote for anybody who's not an incumbent, which is those three people, because we have to get rid of some of this stuff. And they're going to pass another attempt to do a referendum. They're always asking for more money. And obviously they have a lot of money. They got $160,000. Of course, the superintendent is getting paid, $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
And,
running on deaf ears right now. I will not support any kind of increases to the school when I have these kind of people running it. It's crazy. And that's just in Duluth too. This is if you're going to have something crazy like this, it should be at the state level. Why is Duluth doing this? I asked that question quite a bit from the city council. Why is Duluth adding on to something the state already does? You piggyback on other offices and other places that do things so you don't have to. But no, Duluth has to do it its own way all the time. Spend money, spend time on things they don't understand and they don't know how to do very well. So
this has to do with the DEI, and that mainly has to do with racism. But the schools are really promoting transgenderism in Duluth in particular, and that's certainly another issue which we haven't got to. But hey, we want to go here, Sean. But
I'm gonna.
We can talk all night.
I'm gonna look at Dave and say I'm thinking about just going down to health and fitness, unless you have another topic that you really want to go after, because I'm skipping over a lot of stuff.
No, he brought up Harry Welter running for city council or for school board, and it's like, well, that's kind of like winter around here. He's going to run for something because every single time you go to the office, in the ballot box, his name's on something. So seeing his name there, it's just winter to Minnesotans. So
he has generic signs, so he can just run for any office and just stick them out again.
Yeah.
The only thing that we need to mention is yesterday there was a election that elected another Democrat to to take over Melissa Hortman's position, bringing the Senate back to a tie. They said the Democrats are losing strength in that district, but they only lost like 2 or 3%. So that seems to be a lie. This guy is anti-cop, and I just found an article. One of the social workers that was supposed to stop crime, he just got sentenced to 22 years for carjacking. So,
yeah,
I mean, that just kind of proves that, you send a cop in there, you don't send a social worker, because now you have to.
Well, you have to also send a cop to take care of the social worker. So
yeah,
it's kind of double dipping.
Yeah. So that's about the only thing that I thought was real necessary for Minnesota. For, Republicans shouldn't have lost that seat, because now the Senate's back to a tie. Now Walz can do his grandstanding for the special session. So,
well, it was
certainly expected that he was going to win. That was a safe DFL seat. One of the things I remember talking, Shawnee mentioned Liz Collins at the thing. Somebody mentioned that maybe it was Liz Collins just near the end of the program. That we all travel quite a bit, and we go to other states. And she says, if somebody was saying, "You talk to anybody else," and they're saying, "Minnesota's doing what?" They just can't believe it that Minnesota said they're doing what in the state. All the stuff.
That was her talking to Tucker Carlson, and he said he had to take. He goes, "I got to take 30 seconds and just kind of absorb this." I thought she said it was great. It's like we have some kind of PTSD here. We're just used to it. You start talking about Minnesota politics and even Duluth to other people are like, "You got to be kidding me!" No, every day.
It is unbelievable. But hey, thanks, Sean. And I got to go. I think we got to go. But it's nice. We have to laugh at it. I think we were talking earlier. One thing that we do is, I think us conservatives, I'll put myself in that camp, have a sense of humor, and we do like to laugh at stuff and have a good time and go out. And I got to go cook some food for tonight and do something fun. The rest
Sounds good.
It's a great being on it. Thank you for having me on. And
anytime you want to come on, Art, just come and let me know.
It's always nice to hear your facts. So
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Art.
Talk to you guys later.
Bye. All right. Let's just finish up here with health and fitness. I'm going to do you brought this forward, so I'm going to put this on. If I hit the right button. And this is our health and fitness segment. And diabetes risk quadruples with the use of popular natural remedy. So risk associated with cannabis use, 30% of users develop cannabis use disorder. I've never heard of that before.
No.
You got the CUD, cannabis use disorder. Linked cardiovascular risks, long-term use linked to increased risks of psychosis and schizophrenia, and linked to pregnancy complications. I don't think you should be doing any drugs if you're pregnant, if you can help it. I had not heard some of this stuff. So over 5 years, nearly quadrupled the number of cannabis users developed type 2 diabetes compared to the control group. Wow. If you're thinking about doing it and you don't know anything about diabetes, you don't want it. People with type 1 have no choice. People with type 2 sometimes don't have a choice. I'll tell you a little thing that's bothering me about this right here. You see how he's doing his number and he's got the blood on the end of his fingertip?
Yeah.
The most painful place you can do a finger poke is in the center of your finger. If you do it on the side, you don't feel it. Not much. You do it right in the middle. That's where all your nerves come together. So anytime you see a commercial like this or an ad like this, you know they don't really know what they're talking about. Because you talk to any diabetic, if they're not poking on the side and they're poking in the middle, they're just masochists more than anything.
Well, they're just a stock photo from a bunch of who knows. So
well, I mean, this is clearly a diabetic one. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I thought it was an appropriate article based on now that Minnesota is just gung ho about legalizing cannabis. And I found out that the tax rate in Minnesota is 15% plus our state sales taxes. So what are we at, 28% or something like that?
On cannabis?
Yeah.
Or I believe it.
So some of, like in Michigan, it was 37 plus state. So it's almost a 50% tax on cannabis. And in 1 year, they raised $381 million just the tax on the cannabis.
See, what I don't understand is, and maybe I do understand it, but I'm just going to bring it up, is if you're going to legalize cannabis, people can just grow that themselves.
Right.
Why do we have to have this big tax? Why do we have to have lotteries for dispensaries and give it out to people that, have no business practice, but they know they're going to make a ton of money? Make it legal or don't. So if somebody can grow it themselves, I think it's legal at a certain level, but it's like some minute level. Like you can create like my plant back here would be, too big. That's illegal. That's not a marijuana plant, by the way. I don't know what that is, but it's not a marijuana plant.
Yeah, and Colorado came to the conclusion that the illegal marijuana sales didn't change at all because even though there was a growth in people using it, people didn't want to pay the state taxes. People didn't want the regulations, go on and so forth. So they were still buying it illegally through back alleys and doing it that way and saving just a massive ton of money. So.
Yeah, and the thing I hate worse is they call it the sin tax. Well, you don't need it, so we get to tax you more on it. Well, how did that ever become a real thing? Right, I mean, we're getting so taxed to death. But I wanted to point out the first comment I saw on here, which I thought was funny. It's like, yeah, maybe it's the cannabis linked to diabetes, or maybe it's linked to the candies, cookie, and ice cream I usually consume afterwards. I think he may be onto something actually here. All right. I think we've done enough damage for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the state already shut down you and Art a few times, so
yeah, right.
We don't want to get shut down too much more further tonight. So
we'll get out while we're still ahead.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it for this week. I'll be posting this probably as a video tomorrow, but appreciate everybody that stuck around and watched and contributed via text messages. And that's it for this week. Dave, anything to say?
It's a lot of stuff we went over. A lot of information.
All right. Well, hang loose, everybody. We'll see you next week. Until then, I'm Sean.
I'm Dave.
And this has been Duluth Conservative. We'll see you next week.